It's Cageside with John Morgan.
And welcome everybody back to another episode of Cageside with John Morgan, a post UFC 321 edition. We have a lot to break down. I usually give a little preamble at the beginning, but I'm not. I'm going to bring him right in. His name is on the marquee. You can follow him on X, John Morgan _MMA. His name is John Morgan, the best journalist and the best general manager for a fight promotion in the game. What's up, pal?
Man, listen, as you said, there is a lot to talk about. And normally after a UFC pay-per-view, everything is just excitement and where we're going and look at what this opened up and look what's unfolding now. And this one, there's still a lot to talk about, but I got to be honest with you. I don't know if I've ever been more deflated after a fight than I was on Saturday afternoon watching the main event of UFC 321. It was what was shaping up to be an absolutely incredible fight, and then it's all just snatched away from us.
Let me ask you one question. Who is the star? Yep. Who emerged as the star of UFC 321?
I mean, if anything, I think more people are talking about Ciryl Gane right now than they are talking about Tom Aspinall. I mean,
well, yes, probably, but it's Jon Jones.
Yeah. Hey, we said would Jon Jones' name be mentioned afterwards, and it absolutely was. Because yes, I'm sure Jon Jones was absolutely loving every moment of what he saw unfolding in front of him. To be a fly on the wall in the room where he was watching the pay-per-view and to hear that man talking some smack would have been awfully fun.
I do want to give us a little bit of credit. Ciryl Gane employed the game plan that we said needed. He needs to circle. He needs to be on the outside. He needs to be all the way out of range. He needs to pick his shots when Tom is closing the distance, and he needs to avoid the ground at all costs. He shook off one takedown attempt. The strikes were about even. I don't have the fight stats in front of me. You know, it looked like per the exchanges, though, the limited number of exchanges, you know, he did more of the damage in that first and opening time frame until the eye poke. And I don't know what to make of this because we always said get to 2 or 3, get to round 2 or 3. It didn't get to round 2 or 3, but what I can say confidently is Ciryl Gane probably exceeded a lot of people's expectations up to that point. But I also need to say it is probably a little bit easier to exceed expectations when your game plan is get to 2 and 3 and circle, 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 circle.
I agree. It's been interesting to see people's reaction from this because I think what you said is spot on. I mean, what you see, what you have to take away from this, I think, is that Ciryl Gane is a game competitor for Tom Aspinall, like perhaps better than the betting line indicated, perhaps better than public opinion was going into this. Ciryl Gane has a much better chance of beating Tom Aspinall if this rematch happens than we thought. But I also think you can't just assume what we saw in round 1 is what we would automatically see through 2 through 5. I mean, Tom Aspinall, we talked about the ring rust, you know, how long he had been in there. Maybe it took him a little while to feel that fight rhythm. Maybe he could make some adjustments. So, but to me, you know, if that round goes another 25 seconds, that's 10-9 Ciryl Gane as far as I'm concerned. I mean, he did the more damage. He looked the more effective striker. I have a lot, and I think a lot more people, and I've already seen it. You know, some early betting lines have come out for the rematch should it happen, and it's much closer with the opening lines because I think you have to give Ciryl Gane a lot of respect, but you also can't assume that the entire rest of the fight would have played out exactly the same. But that is what makes it. I think that's what makes it so difficult about the eye poke. And we could talk about the foul and Tom and all that, but the fact that this fight ended, you know, had Tom Aspinall been absolutely dominating up to that point, there would be an emptiness, right? Anytime a UFC title fight ends in a no contest, which I think they said it was actually the first time, but a main event, let's say, anytime it ends in a no contest, there is an empty feeling, right? But if it was a fight that Aspinall was absolutely dominating and then it happened, you just go, well, you know, damn shame in the result, but yep, we saw Tom as that guy. But that's not what we saw. What we saw was, this was shaping up to be a hell of a fight, and then it was just taken away from us.
And Ciryl Gane's a smart fighter. I mean, he uses his range really well. He's smart. He's a tactical fighter, and that's what my breakdown was last week. Is this guy is a surgical fighter, right? He fought Derek Lewis that way. He fought Tai Tuivasa that way. He fought all these guys that people were like, hey, if they hit him, he's going to go down. and he is a very smart and tactical fighter. And that's why I preferenced it in saying this is going to be a lot more interesting than people expect, because I kind of knew that going in, but I also kind of knew that Tom has the athleticism and the power to starch anybody anywhere at any time. But it was playing out to a degree in which I thought it could, and it was. With that being said, Tom Aspinall just can't catch a damn break. Let's look at this. Like, if he would have came out and if he would have done what the betting lines thought he was going to do, then he could have got on that mic and gave the epic promo and being like, that White House card, that is my spot. John, you can't duck me anymore. He doesn't get that opportunity. He was on the shelf with a knee injury. He didn't get the Francis Ngannou opportunity. You know, guess what? He's got the Curtis Blades opportunity. He's gotten the Pavlovich opportunity, and the Spivak opportunity, which made him money, but they didn't. He has yet to ever get that opportunity up there. And I don't want to say he's snake bit, because what's driving me crazy in all of this is the chatter, right? Tom quit. He found adversity and wanted a way out. First of all, he didn't poke himself in the eye. Let's start there, okay? Yep. He didn't poke himself in the eye. Like, now, it's gotten even worse now that we know that there's not going to be any damage to the eye. And so it just adds fuel to everybody chiming in. But it was a bad eye poke. It was a bad eye poke. And truth be told, the eye that he was holding looked like it was the lesser of the two eye pokes in the other one. But
that's the weird part. That's the really weird part of it, right?
He did not poke himself in the eye. He didn't quit. He was fouled. He was fouled, everybody. It was an illegal, now albeit unintentional, illegal foul that Ciryl Gane implied on Tom Aspinall. He did not quit. He did not take the easy way out. There's nobody that is ever going to convince me of that, because the simple fact is he didn't poke himself in the eye.
Yeah, and let me just say, too, and you're right about everything, and I saw some video afterwards where Tom Aspinall was saying, man, I think he should have been disqualified. Absolutely not. No contest was the right call here. It was unintentional, but it was severe. And as you said, it was wild because it was both eyes, and the left eye was the one that looked like it got the worst of it, but the right was the one that was clearly bothering him. If you have a chance to go check out Tom Aspinall's YouTube channel, he shows a lot of behind the scenes video of him like at the doctor, hours after, and still can't see. They keep a patch covered on that right eye, and as he peels it off, they're shining light in it, and he's actually like physically recoiling in pain because it was severely impacted. And it's one thing, if he has a broken finger or or there's an infection on his forearm and he's like, I'm gutting it out. When you lose your vision, panic sets in, and you start thinking of things a lot different, because I have seen the chatter, right? We're like, oh, Michael Bisping fought with one eye at the end of his career. Tom Aspinall could have done it. But it's like, that didn't happen at the time, like in the moment. Remember Bilal Muhammad's reaction when he got eye poked and he lost vision briefly. It's scary as hell to think, oh my God, I might be without vision for the rest of my life. At that point, you're not thinking about the fight. You think Tom Aspinall didn't want to collect his win bonus that night? You don't think Tom Aspinall wanted to get that, the raise that comes along with victories in UFC contracts? Like, he hasn't gotten to fight in forever. Like, no, man, he did not take an easy way out. I guess I get what people are saying is like, boy, if he was really a fighter, he would have just found a way. He'd just tell that doctor, I can see fine, and I'll go out there and do it. And yeah, that's a cool old school way of thinking of things, I guess. But when you're talking about your vision, man, and his dad said something afterwards I thought was important too, that I think people do forget. And it's not necessarily what you want fighters to think of at the time, but his dad was like, remember, this is only a portion of your life. You'll still have a whole bunch of life after this. You want to have your vision for the rest of your life. So I just don't think he took an easy way out. But he definitely was facing some adversity.
As he did.
I'll be honest with you.
Like, that just doesn't help. And I'm not like, listen.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that post-show talk, man. I didn't like that. I didn't like it. It's
just tough because, I never fought on a level remotely close to that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And 99, or let's call it 99.999 repeating of the people that are talking haven't. Anthony Smith has. So if there's anybody who does have a right to speak on a matter, it may be Anthony Smith. But, everything is subjective and situational. And I just don't buy the fact that Tom Aspinall is going to look for a way out. Oh, and by the way, there is only one definitive conclusion to that fight, and it is a no contest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I saw that post-fight show with Anthony and Chael Sonnen, and they were both kind of suggesting the same thing. And I have a lot of respect for both those guys. I consider them both friends. I mean, obviously, I've covered their career for decades, and we've had a lot of conversations and interviews and whatever else, on camera, off camera, et cetera. So I have a lot of respect for them. But I didn't love that take, to be honest with you. And again, I think, too, and I love what you said. It's kind of situational, and it's one thing if it's like it's a little blurry right now, like it's a little blurry, or I'm having to blink a lot. You know what I mean? At that point, to say, well, I can't fight if it's a little blurry, I get it. But he's saying, I have no vision whatsoever in the eye. Like that, again, that's scary.
I didn't hear the same chatter about, and here, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
no,
it's like starting to aggravate me, right? The more we talk about it.
I know.
Because we didn't hear the same chatter about Henry Cejudo.
Right.
Henry Cejudo did the same thing.
Yep. I didn't hear anybody say that. Hey, he quit. I don't. And let's just add in, it is heavyweight MMA as well. By the way, if there's a division out of any division, you damn well want to make sure you got both eyes seeing those hammocks coming at you.
My point is that there may be some sort of somewhat bias, and I'm not saying that people don't like Tom Aspinall, because I think clearly people love Tom Aspinall. But I think that the disappointment in what could have been the moment for Tom Aspinall is what people are disappointed in. They're saying, well, you needed to seize that moment, and I would have seized that moment. Like, I just don't think that there's not an apples to apples comparison with like, this guy fought through it and that guy fought through it and yada, yada this and yada, yada that. And so I think the bias in a lot of these people's opinions and the pundits and the smart pundits, i.e. the Chael Sonnen and Lionheart Smith, is that they wanted that moment for Tom. And I think they're disappointed that moment never happened, because that could have set up a blockbuster. That could have set up a lot. And now we've talked about it. This heavyweight division is jacked up right now because of this.
It's in a bad spot right now. I mean, listen, I guess if you're going to look for a silver lining, I do believe that if this rematch happens, and I think it will, that more people are going to be excited about the fight than they were the first time around, right? A lot of people almost felt like this was a foregone conclusion. Now, I think you and I both said, hey, calm down. It's not a foregone conclusion. Ciryl Gane is an incredibly athletic guy. Hell, Tom Aspinall himself said this guy does all the things that I do well. He's a big test for me. So I do think if there's any, shining silver lining here, it's that people will be excited about this rematch if and when it does get booked. But you're 100% right. The rest of the division right now, it's in a tough spot. I mean, there's nothing else that's really jumping out at you as like, other than these guys. I mean, maybe these guys end up having an incredible trilogy or even 4 fights, because this one really doesn't even count. Maybe they have some epic history together. But, Sergey Pavlovich is obviously, exciting, but I mean, he's already lost to Aspinall. Aspinall's already beat a lot of the guys. I mean, if anything, Jelton Almeida, you thought maybe, well, Jelton, good wrestler.
We're not even going to cover that fight. All right. Hey, everybody out there, we're not even going to cover that.
Yeah, I mean, even if he'd have won the fight, you wouldn't be clamoring to see him fighting for a title, but he didn't. So on top of that, now the guy that won, Sergey Pavlovich, you've already seen Tom Aspinall win. So, yeah, man, the only thing you got right now to be excited about in the heavyweight division is this rematch, if we're being honest. And then, if Aspinall wins and wins convincingly, then you're right back in this weird position. And the longer we wait on Jon Jones, because I don't know that Jon Jones is coming out of retirement for anything other than fighting at the White House. If that opportunity passes and this doesn't happen, I don't know that Jon Jones comes out of retirement for anything else. So, I think you got a window on that. I guess it just, depends on how fast they get this thing turned around, how fast they can book the rematch. But I can tell you as of that video, man, Tom wasn't back, because I've heard a lot of people saying, well, look, they're both in shape. Neither of them took much damage. Let's get this thing booked quickly. I heard Michael Bisping, I think, called, hey, why don't we do it in Madison Square Garden in a couple weeks, or at the very least, let's do it at the end of the year.
Minimum of a 60-day suspension. Minimum.
I think so. Yeah, exactly. And again, the eyesight as of hours after the card still wasn't restored. And again, Tom is in a lot of pains. Hopefully he heals up. But it would be nice if they could get it turned around quickly.
Here's the simple reality of the situation as it pertains to the heavyweight division. Tom Aspinall was the hope of the division. He was the budding superstar of the division, who then arguably was losing the first round to a guy who got utterly dismantled against Jon Jones in 2 minutes and 2 seconds. This devastates the heavyweight division right now. Because the only fight, and you can have a lot more intrigue into it, like what's going to happen with the title. But then there's still this mythical creature out there that there is so much stock into what he says, albeit I don't believe everything that he says. I don't believe a lot of it. I don't believe that Tom Aspinall is the Johnny-come-lately guy that everybody wants to see. And then after I beat him, I don't get the credit. I don't believe that about Tom Aspinall. But Jon Jones certainly believes it now. Yeah. And you know what? And you have to listen to him about it. So there's no denying the fact that the only fight to make right now that people truly care about is Jon Jones and Alex Pereira. That's the only one. And then hopefully over time, something can happen with this. And if Ciryl Gane comes out and they have a rematch and it's a spirited fight and Tom Aspinall still wins, that in the reality of the fans' eyes and the public sentiment and everything, that really doesn't do much for Tom Aspinall. And that's just very unfortunate because I think he could give Jon Jones everything he wanted and more. But
absolutely.
John's not getting out of bed for that. It's just the way it is.
No, and listen, I mean, whether you like Jon Jones or don't, I've always fallen on the camp of it. I do think he's the greatest of all time, and I think if you lived through his prime and his rise up, you have to be a Jon Jones fan, at least as a fighter, if not for things that have happened outside of the cage. But his fighting skills are tremendous. But whether you like Jon Jones or not, if Jon Jones says to you, I told you guys, I destroyed Ciryl Gane. You saw what I did to Ciryl Gane, and Ciryl Gane just won the opening round against Tom Aspinall. Like, what do I prove by beating out? You have to listen to him. You have to give it. You have to grant him that and be like, I know, John, you're right. Like, I feel you. You may still say, yeah, but I want you to come fight the champ. But if he says that to you, you just got to go, well,
I said that last week. If he comes out and he beats Ciryl Gane in 4 minutes and 30 seconds, but it wasn't 2 minutes and 2 seconds, Jon Jones still wins this debate.
It's true. It's true. Listen, you're right. I mean, look, we've been saying it all along. You know what I mean? Jones and Pereira is the fight to make, man. It's the biggest fight I think you can make in the UFC right now in terms of fan interest, right? And that's what it's all about. Now, the hardcores might go, what does that fight mean? It doesn't stand for anything. And I get all that. That's fine. But we can't sit back and pretend like the UFC has always done everything on meritocratic standpoint. You know what I mean? Like, it's about drawing eyeballs. It's about the amazing spectacle that will be this fight on the White House lawn, right? And this is a spectacle of a fight between two of the biggest stars in the sport. And what happened on Saturday night just made it, I think, even more of a reality. I mean, you've already seen John coming out and saying, hey, let's do this. I mean, and I know that Dana hasn't been warm on it, but I don't know. I feel like this might end up kind of forcing their hand a little bit because this really screwed up a lot of plans. And again, I think the rematch is going to be great, but I don't think they're going to wait until June to have the rematch. And even then, it's a co-main event to Jon Jones, right? I mean, Jon Jones and Pereira would be the main event over the heavyweight title fight. So, it really screwed up a lot of plans. And I think that's why there was so much disappointment. But I do want to go back to the fact that I don't blame Tom Aspinall for being honest and saying, I can't see. I've just been really surprised to see the backlash that is, as you said, he's a quitter. He wanted the easy way out. I just don't see it that way, man. I just don't. And I hate seeing any of that discussion whatsoever.
It's obnoxious to really think a guy at that competitive level is looking for a way out. It just doesn't happen. And I think it's the bias because we didn't hear that about Henry Cejudo. That's an apples to apples comparison, right? Yep. And we were giving the ref all the crap there, or not we, but the fans,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And at the ironically, same referee, Jason Herzog, but there's no other call to make other than a no contest as well. Like,
100%. And by the way, hey, just quick kudos to Jason Herzog, right? I mean, no surprise, one of the best officials in the game, but just kind of staying out of the way and not really acknowledging the I can't see kind of comments, like, let me walk over here real quick and just give you the time. Giving Tom all the time that he could. I thought Jason did his best to try to keep Tom in that fight.
Yeah. These things happen with open finger gloves. It just happens. Yeah. In my rules meeting, everybody's like, the Jon Jones are leading this way. It does not happen this way. Just if you guys are seeing, if you're listening, but if you're watching, I'm always sticking my fingers out. Like, in reality, it doesn't happen that way. It happens on a defensive, like I'm going to grab the hands or I'm going to block. And it's just, I don't know a way to solve this problem. Like, it's just a bad part of this sport. That, if those fingers, now I know the Bellator gloves were curved and blah, 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 blah. There were still eye pokes in Bellator, everybody. Like,
yeah. Look, I will say, I do acknowledge that I believe the UFC design could be better, but to pretend that it will completely eliminate eye pokes, it won't. They will still happen, because you're 100% right. It's very rare. Everybody used to get it, John, because that was the whole rule change, right? It was based on Jon Jones. And it's like, hey, you can't lead with your fingers forward as you were demonstrating. That's the rule now. But that's very rarely how it happens. People aren't throwing punches and having their fingers out. It's exactly what you said. It's those defensive moments where you're trying to push down, grab away, push away. It's exactly what happened here. I do think the design could be better for the UFC glove. Obviously the UFC glove is basically that there's no curvature to it at all. It's flat. And if anything, because they're brand new the way they are, they kind of pull your hand open a little bit. So I do think they could do a better job with the design there, but it would not completely eliminate them.
Mackenzie Dern's a world champion. That's pretty
Amazing.
Wild to say in a very short time. Mackenzie Dern is a world champion, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion, now a UFC world champion.
That's pretty cool. I think it's Guilherme Cruz tweeted out that she's the first person to win an IBJJF world title, an ADCC world title, and a UFC world title. That's pretty incredible, regardless of what you think of Mackenzie Dern and some of the results she's had, because she's, to say right now, and I get it, Dean Thomas took a lot of heat for talking about this fight and kind of negatively saying it. But, like, do I really think that Mackenzie Dern is the best strawweight fighter on the planet right now? I don't. You know what I mean? I do think there's some matchups that she could lose this belt without defending it. But you can't take this away. You can't take away what she accomplished. And I will say, I know, we're the old soft dads a little bit or whatever, but man, bringing your kid in there and having the belt, that was a cool moment. You know what I mean? To be able to share that with your child is very cool. And Mackenzie Dern, you can't be around Mackenzie Dern and not like her. Her infectious energy, her smile, her positivity, just always good energy and fun to be around. Her coach, Jason Pereira, same thing, man. Like, you can't be around that guy and not like him and respect him. Amazing, right? What he's done. This guy, I think you have to start talking about him as one of the best coaches ever, and a potential, I do think coaches belong in the UFC Hall of Fame at some point, maybe in the contributor section, something like that. We talked about it with like Ray Longo, but maybe here as well. But anyway, it's just a feel good moment. Great moment. I felt pretty, just the way the styles matched up, man. I felt pretty confident in Mackenzie Dern, at all times this matchup. Just better on the feet.
Up, though.
She did get busted up. She got busted up. She got taken down quite a bit. But I still felt confident that she had done enough to win the fight. I think the body language for Virna Jandiroba over the later rounds, especially, was not doing her any assistance with the judges. I saw a lot of people talking about the takedowns, a lot of people talking about the top positioning, that maybe this was a closer fight. Or maybe there was even a case that she won. I just didn't feel that way watching it whatsoever. I felt this was a very clear Mackenzie Dern victory. And, if I'm being honest, I don't know how long she'll hold the title. You know what I mean? I guess maybe some of that has to do with what happens. Does Zhang Weili win the belt at 25, or does she come up short and decide that 15 is her home? There are matchups that are tough for Mackenzie Dern. She's got some losses. She's not perfect. But right now, she's a world champion. You can't take the moment away from her. And I thought it was pretty cool to see.
One thing I forgot in my notes that I want to double back to on Tom Aspinall. Did you see reports earlier in the week that his dad is advising him not to re-sign a contract with the UFC?
I did see that, and I'll be honest with you. I did not like reading those comments whatsoever. I mean, obviously you want your parents to be your biggest supporter and believer in what you're capable of doing, and and there's nothing wrong with, hey, we want to keep all options open, et cetera, et cetera. But I thought those comments were a little bit bizarre, to be honest with you.
Horrible too.
Yeah, terrible timing. Listen. I mean, if you're a UFC heavyweight champion or anybody associated with a UFC heavyweight champion, you can't be faulted for looking at what Francis Ngannou did and say, if that option was available for me, I'd go out and lose a couple of boxing fights and put $50 million in the bank. You know what I mean? So I get it. I do get it. But I also feel like that was just such a unique situation. And, I don't know that it's like, I don't know that anybody in the boxing world has just been like clamoring to see Tom Aspinall.
He's not that big enough a name yet, though. He's not a Francis Ngannou name figure.
He's not. Hey, crazy, right? And we talked about this coming in. Might be, and I won't even say might be. Me, if Tom Aspinall is fighting Francis Ngannou, I'm picking Tom Aspinall all day. I think Tom Aspinall is a more accomplished fighter than Francis Ngannou. I think he's a better fighter overall, well-rounded than Francis Ngannou. But there's no question Francis Ngannou was the bigger star, right? I mean, there's just no question. There's a difference between fighting skill and accomplishments and star power. And a lot of that, again, it goes back to the bad luck, the sitting on the sidelines, the injuries, you know what I mean? Like maybe not having great opposition and great opportunities. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for it. Not that Tom Aspinall doesn't have the ability to be a big star, but just things haven't fallen his way. That's just not where he stands right now.
Yeah, it's just he's snake bit. But I also look at it from a position of, what kind of a weird position does this put the UFC in when you have your arguably top guy in the division, the one that you are clearly trying to position as the next big thing, the next great star, the next baddest man on the planet? What type of position does UFC get put into when you have that guy's coach, and dad saying, yeah, I don't want my son. He's got 3 fights left, now 2, because it was prior to the Ciryl Gane fight. Now I've got 2 fights. I want him to go into boxing because the paydays are better. They're not even comparable to what the UFC is paying. If I was Dana White, I'd be like, what in the hell? Like, why would we ever? Like, at what point was any of this a good idea to say out loud? Even if you believe it, even if it's true.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a better discussion to have behind closed doors, number one. But number two, what motivation does the UFC come out? I mean, UFC hears that. Do you think they sit back and go,
let's make an even bigger star to hijack?
Yeah, we haven't done enough to really get behind this guy. I see your point. You're absolutely right. We apologize, and we are now going to get the machine fully behind your son. Let's do this. No, you know what I mean? They take that as an attack, and they're going to be frustrated. So yeah, I'll be honest with you. I didn't like that. Now, you don't know, inside is Tom Aspinall going, Dad, come on. We know this. I don't know. Maybe Tom doesn't necessarily feel the same, and again, there's nothing wrong with throwing it out there, but I thought it was a little bit weird, and the timing was pretty bad.
But even I'd love to see my son do some boxing at some point in his career. That'd be okay. Not to say I am advising him not to re-sign with the UFC. After the Ciryl Gane fight, we will have 2 fights left on his contract, and I'm advising him not to re-sign.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
And like I said, we didn't get to hear from Tom after the fact, so this is going to be very interesting, man, how this thing starts playing out moving forward. I will say, I mean, and whether or not that factored into it or not, I mean, Dana didn't seem especially thrilled at the post-fight press conference at the way things played out. You know what I mean? Obviously, everybody was disappointed in the moment. It really did suck the wind out of the event itself and what looked like it was going to be a great fight. But like I said, the only silver lining I might say is that the rematch, I think there's going to be a lot more intrigue and discussion in the rematch. I felt a lot of people thought that this fight didn't even need to happen because it was so easy to see how it was going to play out. That wasn't the case. So at least there's going to be some excitement around the rematch, but it doesn't fix the rest of the division, right? I mean, again, if you look at, contenders 2, 3, and 4, like Tom Aspinall's already beat him. So that's part of it. It's not just that there's nobody in the division. It's that Tom took the kind of slow road to get here. And so we beat a lot of them. And, the one
convincingly.
And very convincing. Yeah, right. Not like, oh man, that was so close. We got to see that one again. It's like, no, he absolutely destroyed him, and I don't think he has anything for him. And so why do I want to see that again? Type of fight. And then and then you add to the whole boxing discussion. The only kind of new name in the division, Anthony Delia, is his teammate. And he's like, I'd sooner give up the belt than fight my teammate. Which Dana White doesn't like that one either. So
who could save Tom Aspinall?
What's that?
He comes out. He has a convincing victory against Ciryl Gane. Convincing.
Yep.
Then he fights Derek Lewis. And he wins convincingly.
Right.
That's the fight. In my opinion, I said this after Derek Lewis's Nashville fight. I said Derek Lewis needs to fight. He needs to fight Derek Lewis. And I think he takes Derek Lewis, right? But it's that big name. Derek Lewis is going to bring the eyeballs. He's going to bring the notoriety. He's going to bring the fanfare. He's going to bring the fun to it. And then they always say, like in wrestling, like you get the rub from somebody. Right. You get the rub from your opponent. He's going to get the rub from the Black Beast, Derek Lewis. So I think that's the fight that eventually will need to happen. And I think that could save Tom Aspinall. I know that's a weird take, but the knockout king of the division of all-time UFC knockouts and Tom Aspinall, who wouldn't want to see that?
I like it. No, I like that path there and again, he's got to go. Man, number one, he's got to beat Gane. I think there's even more pressure to do it in convincing fashion the second time around. Now that there's a rematch here, seeing how tough that opening round was. But you're right, because there's not a lot of other names out there. I mean, again, we just said 2, 3, and 4. Volkov, Pavlovich, Blades already beaten. Almeida, number 5. He's, I don't know if he'll drop a little bit when the rankings come out, but nobody wants to see that fight at this point. Waldo Cortez Acosta, a new name in the division, but I mean, nobody clamoring right now that guy has to fight for the title. Spivak, he already beat. He won't fight his teammate. Derek Lewis, as you said, that's the name right there. So I like it. I like it. Unless, and I mean, the other one is if for whatever reason they can get this thing done quick, if they can do it in December, if they could do it in January, maybe kick off the Paramount deal, with this rematch. I could see the folks at Paramount saying, hey, don't rush to put this thing back together too soon. Like, why don't we just wait till January, put the rematch together, and then turn around in June and see if Jon Jones is willing at that point. But I mean,
he's not. He's not willing.
I don't think John's willing to fight him.
The UFC is going to book that fight. They have to book that fight, in my opinion. The public wants it. Not only that, the combatants have agreed to it.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
It's not like one was like, no, you got to earn. It's not like one of them's like, you got to earn your shot, kid.
Yeah.
Both of them were saying like, you're the guy. Yeah, you're the guy. You're respected. No, you're respected. You're the GOAT. No, you're the GOAT. You're respectful. No, you're respectful. All right, let's do it at the most historic venue that this sport will ever see. And fans like me or you are like, yeah, the UFC.
You have to.
Like, there's no other option. Or you just
have
don't.
To.
And then everybody is going to be pissy at Tom Aspinall anyways.
So true, man. It's so true. You have to put that fight together. You have to put John and Alex together. You just do. It just makes sense. And I know
you are so back-ended into that. You have to.
Yeah. It's just sorry, man. Things didn't work out the way you wanted, and they didn't happen. So you got to put the fight together.
I
so
appreciate
hopefully
your
they do.
Respectful approach to wanting to fight me, essentially with my brother. I appreciate your respect. You got it. Like Jon Jones doesn't do that.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't. Forcing their hand.
He doesn't. You got to put that together. Or, I mean, are you convinced yet that this new Christian Conor McGregor, maybe that's enough to get him back in the cage? Do you think Conor McGregor makes it on that White House card? It's tough, right?
I just don't. I want it with every fiber of my being. I want it. The only thing is that Conor, like, here is his like transformation into politics, and he's been very outspoken. He's a big fan of Donald Trump. He's a big advocate for being a real good conservative movement into his home of Ireland, and this is the venue for him to do it. He's been on the shelf for years, and we only see the training footage that he wants to show us every now and again, and it's not a lot. We know that, I just, if he wants to fight, I think Michael Chandler is the perfect matchup for him at this point, to come back to. But that's still man, like Michael Chandler is still fast and explosive. And
oh yeah, it's not a gimme, especially for somebody that has been. I mean, this is so. Listen, and I'll say, I think the feelings of Conor McGregor are maybe similar to Jon Jones. Like if you're a newer fan of the sport and you didn't live the rise of Conor McGregor, like you don't understand how magnetic and just like unparalleled in the history of the sport it was. And so if you're a newer fan of the sport, I can see why people would just be like, why do I even care? And in a lot of ways, look, this is weird when you think, you talk about him being out for years. Since that magical night at Madison Square Garden in 2016, which if you were a fan of the sport back then, you can conjure up those images in your head immediately of those two belts over the shoulder.
I was watching it from Mexico City. I was in Mexico City on a work trip watching it.
You know exactly where you were that night because it was a magical night. He's won one fight since then. He's won one fight in almost 10 years. That's crazy, man. It really is crazy to think about. But Conor is the biggest star in the history of the sport, and he remains probably, I won't even say right, he's still the biggest star in the sport, even though he hasn't competed in 4 years. I mean, the following that he has, and again, if you're not a fan of some of the things that happen outside of the cage, totally understand that, man, because he's been accused of some pretty heinous stuff over the years. But in terms of just eyeballs,
and knocks out a mascot too. Let's not forget about
that one hurts, right? That one just hurts deeply. Dude, if he can, I mean, if there's an opportunity to put him on the card, they will, right? I mean, and there is, that's the thing about Conor is, and I, even in the course of this show, I think I've started to change because I was always at the very much like, he's absolutely going to fight again. He's absolutely going to fight again. And a stage like this, a stage like the White House, again, the discussions are very similar to that of Jon Jones in that Conor doesn't need to fight at all. You know what I mean? His legacy is secure. His financial, situation is secure for the rest of his life and potentially generations. So he doesn't need to fight, but he also does love that spotlight. He also does love, historical moments. And this is a once ever type event. And so I think he'll be motivated. It sounds, again, it's 8 months from now. And he's talking about, he looks cleaned up, which is good to see. And he's, he's talking about his life has been restored and his focus has been restored. So we'll see. I mean, I kind of wanted to mention all that just because if they have Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler on the card, maybe the UFC doesn't feel like they have to do Jon Jones or Lex Pereira at that point because they're like, well, I already got Conor. What else do we need? But if you don't have Conor,
yes, you do.
You still got to do it. You still got to do it. You still got to do it. Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't. I mean, it's not like you don't have to care is this going to make money or not, or you know what I mean? Like they don't this is once in history. Like you do it because it enhances the brand. It becomes part of, it literally becomes part of history. You know what I mean? So you're right. I think you'd still do both if you can, right?
Yeah. What do you make of Dana White talking about Usman Nurmagomedov?
Interesting, right? Interesting.
Now, not to be mistaken with Umar.
Right.
Usman,
right. Yep.
PFL champion. We don't know what's left on his contract or this, but they're, who knows? I don't know. It was a little bit cryptic, but where there's smoke, there's fire.
There is. And I think, couple that with the fact that it may have, missed some people's radar this week, but they just let go of Larissa Pacheco as well, who's one of the PFL dude, who's one of their biggest stars, obviously holds a victory over Kayla Harrison, which is one of the things people will know from her most. They just released her this week. And so, I think, I think that might have flown under a lot of people's radar. It was on a UFC fight week. And so I don't think a lot of people may have seen that. But I still think PFL is in kind of that reorganization and restructuring mode. And I think they're taking a look at big contracts that are on their payroll and saying, do we take the short-term loss here and the short-term hit and, let some of these names go rather than pay money that we know is just putting us further in debt or making profitability more difficult. So I do very much believe it's a where there's smoke, there's fire, because I don't think Dana typically likes to lend much credence to anybody else's name that's not on the UFC roster.
Yeah, he's not going to be litigating his case of contracts in the public. I don't. That's something he does, and it was.
Nope.
But I thought it was cool. I was like, I haven't heard this talked about yet.
I like it.
More, Uncle Dana, talk a little bit more.
Yeah, I like it. I think he'll end up in the UFC. I think he will end up there, sooner rather than later. And he's
Bring
a talent.
Paul Hughes
Great
over
to see him.
too. Then bring Paul Hughes over.
Ooh, Paul Hughes is fun, man. He's a great fighter. Yeah, I guess you just can't have them all, right? You gotta let the PFL have some. You can't sign all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see AJ McKee fight more. It's just that's the problem. It's like these guys aren't getting the fights to build. It's like I don't know the business model. I like working PFL cards. They're fun. The production set is great. The whole 9 yards. Like I really, really enjoy
They do
it.
great.
I hope I get more opportunities. With Ray Sefo and company over there, right? But the frequency, it seems to me that they are more focused now on international than they are focused on building a PFL here stateside.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think that's a terrible thing. I've said from the beginning. I've said from the beginning, I think PFL would almost be better to just seed the U.S. market and just be like, you know what? We can't go head to head with the UFC. It's not happening. But we have all these regional leagues where we can bring events into prime time into people's home, which the UFC can't do right now. I mean, you look at like fans in Europe, God bless them, man. To be a hardcore UFC fan in Europe, you got to stay up till 4 or 5 in the morning every weekend watching fights. I mean, that's crazy, right? So, I'm telling you, man, I struggle now at the hour that they're on. Like this Abu Dhabi card, had it not been the terrible ending, was perfect for me first thing in the morning. So I think the PFL, building those international leagues and focusing on their international leagues, I really do honestly think it's smart business. It may not be as, flashy as being the top organization in the world, but I mean, it's going head to head with the UFC is tough, man. They're so entrenched in the space, and they have such a head start, and they have such a robust, just the whole foundation of it, in the the way that it's set up. So, yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. But they do have, if anybody didn't know, they brought on a new CEO. His name is John Martin. They brought him on in July, so he's been on board for a couple months. I think a lot of people have been impressed with some of the changes that they have been made and the direction they seem to move. I feel like the PFL is moving in a very good direction right now.
I love the presentation of the PFL, the partnership with Takedown, they just look great. I think everything about it really looks great. I was having this conversation with a friend of mine. I said, I don't understand necessarily, though. Are they in the business of creating stars? Are they in the industry of putting on events? Are they? I don't know, because it's, at least here in the United States, it's playoffs, and the person who wins the playoffs, more often than not, they're just in the playoff again the next year.
Yeah.
And so it's not building like that star, and I'll take it, whoever you want to say, Kayla Harrison, for example, right? Like, yes, she became a star, but she was just back into the playoff again the next year. And it wasn't this, and I know they said they were going to do the super fight series, but in reality, I think they've done one. I know they did the Nurmagomedov one, and both of those were not locally.
No, and obviously they've got some foreign investment and they want to make those partners happy, and you got to be willing to do that, right? I mean, the money that's being thrown around there in the Middle East in combat sports, man, you got to deliver in the event when they want it. If they're ponying up to the table, same reason this card was on at 7 a.m. Pacific time for the UFC, right? But you're right, and I think that's what they're trying to switch right now. The PFL, that's one of their announcements that they made, is that, hey, look, we want to simplify this thing so that we do understand it. You talk about those athletes that have gone through those tournaments, they'll tell you it's hard to keep doing it year after year after year, right? I mean, what champion in mixed martial arts at a high level is fighting 3 or 4 times a year? Like, none of them, right? And to have to go back in, it's challenging. So then you got to get away from that. So what they've said is like, hey, again, we got Bellator titles, we got PFL titles, we got super fight titles, we got tournament titles. It's all confusing. They've said, hey, we are going to move towards simplifying this. People will win these international tournaments. They'll win the world tournament, but then they'll have one-offs after that. Our champions will be singular. There will be one champion. So I think, let's pay attention to what happens this upcoming season. And look, let's also pay attention to what happens this upcoming season with the UFC no longer on ESPN, going on Paramount Plus. I mean, look, I do not believe that ESPN is just going to suddenly just stop showing any highlights whatsoever, right? But we've seen it throughout the course of history. ESPN is still a business, right? I mean, you may look at it as a news source or a media source, and so therefore they're obligated to cover mixed martial arts. No, they're not. They're absolutely not obligated to cover any of it.
Well, crystal ball that for me. What do you think? I mean, I think I'm confident enough in saying is that either A, ESPN was pissy with the UFC that they were shopping the deal, the next contract, or they were legitimately not happy with the numbers. I don't know which one, but it could only be one of those two things. So either way, I don't think they enjoyed the experience, at least at the tail end of it. So with that being said, do they recognize that A, it is the fastest growing sport in the world and that there is this huge market, or do they just be like, we write the narrative. We do.
I believe that, the UFC pay-per-views and the biggest stars and champions are too big to ignore, right? So do I believe that, if Ilia Topuria, has some huge knockout victory on a Saturday night main event of a pay-per-view that ESPN will not show it? No, I think they will show it. But the week in and week out coverage, the fight night coverage, the, look at what happened on Dana White's Contender Series, let's make that a top 5 highlight of the night. I don't think that happens. And I mean, unless their hand is forced because it's, the next Showtime kick and it knockout or, something like that, where it's just like, oh my God, I've never seen that before. Like, because think about, like, how many times have you watched like the highlights or whatever, right? And it's like, no disrespect, but it's like a center fielder making a catch or whatever. You're on a routine, you're like, who cares? What are we talking about? You know what I mean? But I think those big moments in UFC history will still show up on ESPN. But I don't think you see near as much of it on a
but they ain't on the ticker.
I know. And dude, to be honest, man, I thought that was such valuable real estate, man. I felt like the lower right-hand corner of ESPN had the advertisement for the upcoming UFC like damn near 24/7, over the past couple of years. It was like it was always there, you know what I mean? And so I think they're going to miss that. But, again, Paramount Plus, I mean, they're heavily invested. They're a big company.
Consumers, though, that's such a great deal for us consumers.
Yeah. Oh, I love you from a fan perspective. Yeah. Oh, from a fan perspective, this is a home run. Like, if you're just a fan of mixed martial arts, like, I don't see how you're not like, this is the best deal ever. Like, now all I got to do is pay your money. And I think you're smart, right? Like, you went ahead and locked up your year. If you can lock up your year, get that year locked up. Because they're probably going to raise the rates at some point, right? I mean, they have to with all the
day it was announced. I bought my year because I'm like, dude, at $9 a month or whatever it ended up being, I'm like, no way. Just to piggyback on this, not to get this into like a price war comparison, but then the ESPN picks up WWE, right?
Right.
And it's one of 5 different streaming partners that WWE has. And then they raised the price up to $30 a month. And I was like, yeah, we have ESPN Plus. Of course, Ethan, my son, we are going to watch, the premium live event of you. And then John Cena's SummerSlam match. We were so excited. And then I didn't even realize until I was trying to watch it that it was not covered in my ESPN Plus account. And I had to upgrade to a $39 a month. I think it was $39, $29 or $39. And I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely.
Oh, you said no, huh?
I'm not doing this because, like, listen, I can't be hijacked by every single premium. I have to put my foot down somewhere.
Interesting. So I actually just this past week upgraded mine to the $30 month. I will say, they are doing some packages with like Hulu and Disney that, might make it a little bit more palatable for you. But I agree. It's tough, man. It's not easy. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if I want to add up all my streaming bills right now. Like it's way more than I was paying for cable back in the day. I can tell you that, man. But I know like I have Netflix, Hulu, HBO, Fight Pass, the new ESPN, Peacock,
Paramount Plus. I'm getting rid of Peacock because WWE only runs like one show. I got that for WWE. I got rid of Netflix, just personal reasons. I just couldn't have them all.
Right.
I had Hulu, Disney and ESPN Plus the bundle, which was a great value.
Yeah.
Was. I got now Paramount. Luckily, my HBO comes with my AT&T service.
Nice.
Which is nice. And then I added on Paramount, which Paramount Plus is like the greatest streaming service it is. They have amazing shows. Tulsa King, it's the dorkiest, best show there is.
I agree.
You have Landman. Oh, and then guess what? Hey, honey, only 2 more pay-per-views we got to buy. I promise I'll never buy another pay-per-view for 7 years if you let me buy these last 2. And then it's on Paramount. Bam! Let's go.
Yeah, as for a fan, you gotta love this, man. The fact, and again, we talked about it first happening. I mean, listen, like you said, talking about the coverage and that sort of thing, but it's a big story, man. I think it is a really big story heading into next year. It's just how the media consumption is, how the coverage is, what we see of it out there. Because it's interesting, right? Because from an eyeball perspective, it's almost like a step back for the UFC. In that you're not, you went from Spike to Fox to ESPN, like, wow, man, how can it get any bigger? And the answer is it kind of can't. You're going to take a step back a little bit by being this cornerstone for Paramount Plus. But Paramount Plus is a big company, and they are making you a centerpiece of what they do. I mean, I love seeing the UFC commercials, I should say, on CBS and seeing the coverage coming out there. But the fact that now you no longer have to pay that money, because I think there have been so many people over the years that are like, well, I do like fights, but I'm not going to pay $75. You know what I mean? And people, oh, you can go to a Buffalo Wild Wings. Well, yeah, but I'm not going to do that either. I want to chill at home on a Saturday night, or I got other plans going on. The fact that you can now just turn it on and don't have to invest that $75 on a Saturday night, I just don't believe that won't bring more fans. Or maybe, because think about it, I mean, if somebody's like, well, I like fights enough that they watch fight nights, but then when it's the cream of the crop, when it's the moments that we're all like living for and telling you like these are the moments that get us up out of our seats, they're not watching those because they don't want to pay the $75, which I totally get. Now they get to see these moments.
That's the thing with ESPN right now, too, man. It's driving me crazy. I can watch the UFC fight nights on the one that I do have, but I can't watch the WWE.
So wild. It is, man. $30 a month is big. I just signed up for it this past week. I just converted everything.
Well, I also have internet TV too, so I get direct TV. So I'm like, I had to turn it off somewhere.
So I canceled, and I did. So I canceled Fubo. I had Fubo TV, which was kind of how I got my local channels, and then it had a lot of things, but I wasn't watching, and that was like $90 a month or something. So I canceled that, added in ESPN, added in some of the other streaming services, but I'm right back to where I was. We're paying cable. When the whole cut the cord phenomenon, people tried to tease us, and you'll probably pay less money because the cable companies have just been, they just been taking it out of you all these years. Like, no, I'm definitely back to where I was before I was paying cable. So.
Well, I'm not going to preview any card next week because I'm going to be a third man in the cage. I'm going to be out in Las Vegas for a UFC fight night. But anything fun that you are going to be looking forward to?
I love it. First of all, let me just say congrats again. Was happy to hear that you're getting the opportunities, man, getting to see you come out here and work here in Las Vegas. I know how passionate you are about the officiating side of things and how much time and effort and energy you put into it. So I love seeing you get these assignments. But no, man, I think it's a good card. Like you said, obviously you're not going to break it down because you're going to be doing some official things, but Steve Garcia and David Onama, perhaps not, the highest name value for a main event. I saw some people kind of, downplaying what this was, but two guys that are really, really, really fun to watch. And I think it's great to see guys like this that are, kind of the new faces in the division, the next era of the generation getting these opportunities. So Steve Garcia, David Onama as a featherweight matchup could be really, really big. You do have a big heavyweight fight. I know we kind of downplayed where the heavyweight division stands right now. It's frustrating because it is a ranked fight between Waldo Cortez Acosta and Anthony Delia, who we talked about. But, given what's happening at the top of the division, it does frustrate you a little bit because you don't – what are the stakes, right? You know what I mean? It's just like, well, you stick around at the top, but you're not getting a title shot anytime soon. So that's good. Jeremiah Wells at Thimagarimbo, that is a potentially great welterweight bout as well. Jeremiah Wells, a CFFC vet. So, listen, man, I think there's some great fights up at the top. Chuck Buffalo is back. Charles Radke, obviously, if you like CFFC, you've seen him come through there. Timmy Kwamba is back, which I like to see him. There's a couple of women's fights on the prelims that are there. So overall, it's a very, very, I think, fun, entertaining card. It doesn't have your title fights or your number one contender type matchups, but I think it's going to be a fun card. And like I said, I'm anxious to see you in there in a UFC setting once again, man. I know how hard those opportunities are to come by, man. So it's cool to see you not only be in a UFC fight, but to come out here to Las Vegas and do it. And when was the last time you were in Vegas or at the Apex?
Oh, 2 weeks ago. 3 weeks
Oh
ago?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, you were when I was
I
out of town.
like it's crazy. This comes in waves, man.
That's right.
I had Power Slap. Well, my month has been crazy. I had North Dakota with you.
Yep.
Then I was home for 4 or 5 days. Then I had Power Slap. Then came home for 2 days. Then I had went back out for Contender Series. Then I came home for 2 days. Then I went to Kentucky for LFA. Now I've been home for 2 weeks, and now I'm back out at this week for UFC. So, man,
And by the way, the NBA season is getting underway while all that's happening.
I got to keep a wife happy.
I know that feeling. Yeah, I forgot it had been so recently, man, because I wasn't there that night. Yeah, I was going to talk about it. You've seen it.
I ref
the insane fight, man.
Insane fight.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm anxious to see actually what happens. Again, maybe talking about the inside baseball type stuff or whatever. But I'm anxious to see what happens with the Apex over the next couple months. Obviously the exterior construction is all done. The interior construction, as you've seen, man, is making a lot of progress and it is nearing completion there. We've got November 1st, we've got November 8th.
The footprint is big.
Really big. And then we got December 13th. So between this week and next week, which I'll miss next week because I'll actually be flying home during it. We got a CFFC next week in Philadelphia, which we'll talk about next week. But between that, you'll have about a month. And then we don't know the January schedule yet.
About me for that card, too. I just couldn't do it.
Oh, that's a damn shame. That would have been fun, man. I love 2300 Arena, man. That's a great one.
No, for
November 8th?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I love it. So anyway, so I'm anxious to see what they're doing there because the whole idea between remodeling everything was the ability to bring in more fans, right? And I think when there's more fans, I think it will be it'll be a good setting. I know a lot of people exactly. I know a lot of people aren't fans of Apex fights. I've always said, and I'm in a bit of a unique situation. I love the Apex fights because they're 15 minutes from my house. You know what I mean? So like,
well, and I love the Apex fights too because like when I'm there, I'm like, dude, I'm part of this exclusive club.
It's cool. And we've said it before, but I'll say it again. Anybody that has been to a fight at the Apex will tell you it is badass. But I get when watching on TV, like it doesn't have the same energy as, for instance, Madison Square Garden will in a couple of weeks. Like it's a totally different field. T-Mobile Arena. I get that. I do. Obviously, it won't be the same as, a huge arena. But, if you get, how many shows have you done in venues where you've got 600-700 people in there, maybe 1,000 people in there, but if the venue's small and the volume is loud, like you get the same energy as 17,000. You know what I mean? Like, so, if you can get point. Yeah. Oh, 100%, man. You know what I mean? So both those venues at great atmospheres with small crowds. So I'm hoping it'll be that. The other thing too is just who gets to go in there and how much the tickets are. You know what I mean? Like, I do feel like that has to do with it too sometimes. Like maybe the fact that there's only 250 people in there, is part of it. But the other part of it is a bunch of them are VIPs and they're not going to act a fool and get rowdy. You know what I mean? Like they received an invite in there. They're being on their best behavior versus just getting loud and getting wild and getting rowdy and having a good time. So anyway, I think next year is going to be a really, really interesting year for the UFC. There's definitely changes.
Events.
It's going to be busy. It's going to be busy.
46 events.
Plus Power Slap, plus more UFC BJJ, plus the launch of Zuffa Boxing. Like, oh my gosh, that staff and the operations, and it's going to be wild, man. But exciting year, man. I really do think we're building into an exciting year. And again, I think the fact that you're taking the $75 price tag off of the sport's biggest moments can only potentially serve to help it more.
That is correct. And there is no better way to end this show than with value for us consumers. So with that being said, for John Morgan, I am Eric McMahon. Enjoy the fights.